Hey, what's going on? It is welcome to Dharma Time. I'm your host, Dharma Guy, and we have a visitor here, which is a first actually, I think, on this show, by the way. And they just so happened to stop by, and we're going to put them on. And for those of you who saw our my postings, no, this is not Jesse Awuji. He is on his way, but with magnificence such as this visits you, you have to put it on. And I'm going to introduce him here in a second. First off, let me go ahead and take care of our house cleaning. Welcome to the couch. Oh, look at that! Wow.
Hey, thanks for the plug.
Wow, you're welcome, sir. I think the weekend is still stuck in my head, I guess. That's why. Which I'm going to talk about in a second, by the way. Anyways, so we have Retreat Premier Addiction Treatment Centers, one of our sponsors. And thank you so much also. We met some of you guys down over the weekend at Elon, and you were going to be in our golf tournament. So thanks for that. Look forward to seeing you guys. Next one is Now Matters More Foundation. I am, of course, the president. The producer over here is the founder. We have our golf tournament coming up on March 19th. Feel free to go to... wait a minute. Do we have any spots left? I don't think we do.
You mean golfing spots or sponsor spots? All right, so in golfing spots, what we have left is a one foursome. There's actually one foursome.
Wow.
That is not left, and I only kind of want to sell it as a foursome.
Okay.
There's some single spots that I have reserved for people that say, but they just haven't paid that money. But I know they're coming, so I'm not worried about that. But it's a one foursome. And then the whole sponsors,
we got a couple of those,
there
right?
are two. Yeah, there's two whole sponsors left.
Right on. So if you want to fill any one of those spots, you can go to nowgolftournament.org. Or if you'd like to just support our foundation and you don't like to golf, go to nowmattersmore.org and feel free to donate. Next sponsor is Orange County. Thank you very much. Orange County is always a big supporter. And Carol and Eileen, all them down there, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your support. And I'm rushing through this, man, because I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? It's because our last sponsor, JourneyPure, is actually in the house today. And I got to say, I've always been a huge fan of JourneyPure because, was it Patrick Dunn? Was it 2 golf tournaments ago, I believe? Was it 2?
No, it was the last one.
Was it the last one?
Yeah, where Jerry Lucas and him and... Ferris was there.
All right, So our last golf tournament, I'm the guy that typically drives around and does the GoPro and kind of tries to, make people laugh and talk to them and whatnot. And
is that what you? That's what you do?
That is what I do.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't remember the videos? The guy taking his shirt off to show the tattoos and stuff.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know. Usually I'm busy.
Yeah, you're busy. Anyways, I digress. But Patrick Dunn, we were there talking, and he's a Notre Dame fan, and he casually mentioned one time that he might have to get me up there to go to a Notre Dame game, and so my allegiance is immediately to him. I'm just going to put that out there. I can be bought, guys. I am available. But no, anyway, they were awesome people. Had such a good time, laughing and joking, and they were just such a good group to be around. And so I was very excited when we found out that they were going to want to sponsor the network because I was like, great, it's a great group of people. I don't have to learn to like them. They're already awesome. And so I thought I'd seen all that JourneyPure can deliver. Oh, but wait, there's more. So we get here today and waiting for Jesse to arrive. I think he was caught up in traffic. He doesn't have his NASCAR today, so he has to drive like the common folk.
Well, I warned him about the
cop that
the
you got
speed
caught
zones.
by.
Yeah. That we're not going to talk about.
No. Anyways, so we have with us today Graham Barrett and Jamie Vance. Graham Barrett is he's eating at the moment, but the man sitting next to me is Jamie Vance. And the reason why I think he's amazing is because, so as you know, watching the show, I've been into Buddhism for several years now and been teaching it, and I've gone around to different treatment facilities and ran groups and whatnot. And all the years I've been doing this, I'm typically coming from a more of an educator perspective, and I'm trying to give insight as to, what Buddhism isn't, basically, and trying to educate in that realm and how it relates to sobriety and recovery and things of that nature. So I'm sitting here, and this gentleman next to me just asked me a very basic question of how long I've been into meditation. I started talking a little bit about it, and he immediately guessed Vipassana. And for those of you who haven't read up on it yet, Vipassana is loosely translated as self-transformation through self-observation, right? There's different versions of Buddhism. There's the Mahayana and the Theravada, and it kind of breaks down from there. I just so happen to kind of be more closely aligned with Vipassana. They're all relatively the same when it comes to Four Truths and Eightfold Path, but there's subtle differences. But this gentleman next to me not only guessed, the meditation and whatnot, but got Vipassana right on point. So we got to talking. Turns out this man is also dove, I guess, into the Buddhism realm a little bit. I'll let you explain more. But first off, tell us a little bit about JourneyPure and what it is and why you guys are so amazing, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Sure. Thanks a lot. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for JourneyPure, and we are a behavioral health company. We do addiction treatment,
Right.
Like many others do. But what we do, we see addiction as a chronic illness.
Right.
So we treat addiction for a lifetime. So when patients come to us, there's a lot of people out there that do really good treatment. I'm sure you've seen it.
Sure.
What we do in conjunction with that is that, connection is a number one component of successful treatment or a successful therapeutic relationship. Connection. So we really work hard on that connection, and we do that by offering a free recovery coaching to all of our patients when they leave treatment. So
Wow.
they can stay in our recovery coaching network.
Very cool.
And get that support for a year or more if they need to.
Right on, man. So now, I guess getting into the Buddhism part, tell us a little bit about how you came to know and understand Buddhism a little bit, like how that process took place.
I would love to give you like a big esoteric answer, but there's no trophies.
There never is, though, right? I mean,
there's no trophy for
no.
running out of a burning building, unfortunately. I smashed my life with drugs and alcohol, destroyed it, got sober at age 24, got to the 4-step part of the recovery process, was having such a visceral experience with all the trauma.
Right.
And everything that I'd ever been through, in anger especially.
Can you relate to that?
That's been my Achilles heel throughout my life. And, I really struggled with that. And so I was seeing a therapist, and he got me into meditation.
Right on.
And
Any specific kind of meditation, or just
Vipassana, or however you say Vipassana.
tomato, man?
Right. He got me into just a very basic breath meditation and gave me some CDs. And really, it was the first time, I don't know if it was the meditation or the first time that another man has ever, stepped into my life and kind of mentored me and done something that was good for me.
Right on.
That I could remember. So it was really cool. I still know the guy today.
That's awesome.
And it's been an awesome journey to watch his life and then for him to observe mine. And, he got me into that. And like any, good recovering person, there have been periods to where, I've been very into it and practice every day. And the cool thing about it is and you know this, that like anything, I mean, I exercise. I can tell you lift too, probably.
Trying to get back into it, but yeah.
Right, exactly. So, it's more of a lifestyle choice than, and my favorite thing that he would always tell me is that you can't do it wrong.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
You can't do it wrong. You're not going to screw this up. And that's what I was worried about. So I remember, the first probably couple years of my meditation practice, most of the thoughts going around are, am I doing this right? Well, the guy said to breathe like this. Am I doing that, or am I doing it something different? So it was a great process for me to just be human.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the meditation is concerned, one of the things that I don't do a lot of teaching of meditation, only because typically in the group type setting, I'm more or less kind of trying to educate and give responses. But meditation does come up, of course. The seventh noble truth or seventh part of the Eightfold Path is mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And so trying to get mindfulness, a great way to do that is meditation. And I'm semi-famous, if you will, in this circle of trying to educate people about meditation by first saying, nobody cares if you're good at it. Right? Like, nobody cares. You can't put that on a resume. I'm a great meditator.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. And I always try to explain to them, it's kind of like breathing. You're not really good at breathing or bad at breathing. You either do or you don't.
Right.
And when it comes to meditation, at the end of the day, that's kind of all it is. It's just, I call it practice. Mm-hmm. You're practicing for the real world in the sense of, when something takes place that didn't fit within what you expected to happen, you start to get frustrated, you're starting to suffer. Your brain wants to go through that dependent origination process, essentially, and the way you kind of control that is through practice. Mm-hmm. Through meditation, you're able to control that, that crazy monkey,
Yeah. And I don't know if you had this experience or not, but another thing, coming in as a recovering person and just basically have been, dissociated and numb for a long time, I also didn't know how to feel good things. in a way
Yeah.
that were just natural life, joy, and good things. I just couldn't see them. So when I started a meditation practice, it enabled me to experience life, to be present for my own life, which I really needed to be.
Yeah, I think I know from my personal stance, I had a problem with compassion and empathy and things of that nature. I too struggle with anger a lot. That was my that was not only my Achilles heel, man. That was my lifeline. That's what I identified as. I was that guy. I went through so much trauma early on that I was powerless as a kid, and so I said to myself, when I got older, nobody's taking my power anymore, and I kind of went overboard, right? And so for me, that's what I kind of needed in my life, and that's what this path kind of taught me was empathy and compassion. We're all interconnected, that kind of stuff. And as far as practicing it, Siddhartha, or Buddha even said, it's kind of like pulling the wool from a sweater. It starts out with just a little bit kind of coming out, and then, as you said, there's really no way to mess it up. Once you kind of, they call it a path for a reason. It's a path, meaning, you're going to step off the path occasionally, but as long as you're aiming in that general direction, you're going to get where you need to go. And so, kind of going in that direction, today's topic was about perseverance. And it's a very interesting kind of way I came to this, because every week I try to do my best. I started out as kind of a 4 Truths and Eightfold Path approach, if you will. And then I started realizing, talking to producer, Dope Doctor over here, I realized that there's so many things happening in our daily life at the moment. And one thing, kind of in groups and whatnot, I realized that people have a hard time learning how to apply this. It's one thing to hear it, and it's great. We all hear it. We can all read books. I'm not telling you something that hasn't been around for over 3,000 years. I mean, I didn't create it, but I think we have a problem sometimes on how to apply it. Like, it's awesome, but how do I do it? And so that's kind of where now I do my best to try to find things that are happening in life, and then give a spiritual perspective on that and how we kind of overcome it. So over the weekend, my wife had a MRI done. And so we went into there, as she's getting the MRI done, sitting around, and there's a gentleman in front of me, and he's, that awkward silence where he's just doing his thing, I'm doing mine. And so I just said, hey, man, let me ask you a question. I got a show coming up. This is what I do. And I asked him what he thinks people would like to hear about. And I like to do this often just to get an idea as to what people are feeling. And he came up with probably the greatest answer ever. I just asked him, and he said, he paused for a minute, and he said, perseverance. I was like, that's a great answer, because, as you well know, at the moment, with not only all the addiction issues that are happening, all the political issues that are happening, the race issues that are out there, like, there's so many things, the class aspect of things, and there's a lot of people, I think, at the moment struggling with life. I think life is kind of showing up and punching them in the gut a little bit, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming. It can feel that if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Life has it out against me, and I think that oftentimes we can get into those modes, and it's hard to wake up, man. It's hard to go through the next day. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, kind of a thing. And so I think perseverance is a good topic to have, and just hearing a little bit of your story earlier, and I wouldn't mind you expanding on that a little bit, but it seems like you know a little thing or two about perseverance, about going through some difficult times and kind of coming out the other side of that. So if you don't mind, expand on that just a little bit, and kind of the feelings and what got you through it, and the thought processes to kind of keep you going day to day. And then now you're obviously going through different issues. We all have them, but they're different than what you were dealing with maybe 10 years ago. And so has that thought process changed maybe, and how you deal with all that?
It absolutely has. I'm really glad to be able to kind of, have that reflection on it, because it's not every day that I get to stop and kind of think about it. But it's almost for me like a going backwards, kind of thing. I think that, now I'm, pushing 40, really close to it.
I'm with you there, man.
Yeah. And, I've got 4 children. I've got a wife, and I have a very full life that I never had before. And, I wake up at 4 a.m. I do,
you got me beat on that one.
Yeah, I do my morning meditation, and I go work out with the same guy every day. Very positive group of people.
Very cool.
And it was just a kind of a bit of an evolution for me, but it became, there came a time to where, for me, that, and it didn't come from a place of anger. It couldn't, to be real.
Sure.
a lot of people approach it that way of I'm not going to take this anymore, so they
Yes.
they meet resistance with resistance.
Yes.
And for me, it was that I learned that, it was all about the small choices that I make on a daily basis.
Okay.
A lot of that was, for me is that eventually, and a lot of it was an inside out job.
It always is, brother.
Yeah. If I didn't love myself, then I couldn't do good things for myself and
Absolutely.
have a good life and a healthy life. And there was a long time, even, now, I mean, I'm a high school dropped out like as a sophomore.
Right.
I had an arrest record before I was 18 years old. My 18th birthday, I think, was spent in jail probably or something like that. And
Happy birthday.
yeah, no kidding. And for me, it didn't ever look like it was going to get any better. And I accepted that.
Right.
And, same as all of us. I mean, I was bullied as a child. I came from an abusive situation,
Right.
incredibly. I was bullied as a child. I all of those things,
Sure.
And that could have defined me.
I think for a lot of people it does.
It could have, and it did for a long time. And so the person you see now is not the person I was. And I don't remember that guy that well,
Right.
or because I don't identify with him. But I couldn't make eye contact with anybody,
Right.
and I couldn't talk to anybody, and I just kind of existed.
Sure.
That was it. I existed, and I got high, and that was about it. But man, I couldn't have it to where anybody, found out who I was or you got to know me or got close to me. I couldn't deal with that. So I got sober, and the thing for me was that, I thought that if I make a drastic change like this, like I go to treatment and I
Right.
get sober, everything's going to get all better all of a sudden. It didn't.
Pain is a part of life, man.
No, man. I mean, I got on, the other part of it is too, is that life is life. And I thought that if I got on this path, then I was going to constantly be rewarded for that, and then
Right.
given kind of a golden carpet kind of thing. And it wasn't true. I had to change, period.
Sure.
And a lot of things about me had to change. And what I had also learned was that of my own self, a lot of that I wasn't really capable of having the insight into. So that's where the other people came in. And it's really simple that my world was really, really, really small, very tiny,
Okay.
because of all of the fears and all of the, it's very self-absorbed, but not self-absorbed in an egotistical, kind of way like you might think. Self-absorbed of just afraid of everything. And
Yeah, I like to call that unteachable.
right.
That's why
Totally.
that's why I was telling you earlier. Like I had my moment very similar to that. Was just kind of in my own little world. I'm the best at everything. I've got this all figured out. I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need to learn anything from anybody. You guys all just need to change and stop, pissing me off, basically.
Yeah.
And then being teachable. I think. As far as the perseverance aspect of things, I think that I think you're kind of hitting it on the head. Is oftentimes we approach life thinking that life is doing something to us.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that perspective, when you start to think that you're okay and everything else around you is bad, it's easy to get caught into that mode of, why is this happening to me? Oh, here we go again. Oh, I can't stand this, or
Right.
whatever it may be. And so I love the fact that you're kind of taking that approach, because, matter of fact, that's what last week's show was about, was personal growth. And I think that's where a lot of it starts, is looking inward and having that aha moment when you start to realize my best thinking got me right where I'm at.
Right.
And I remember the very first day I heard that phrase. I myself am not in recovery, but I was talking to two people who are, and they were having a conversation, and one of them said that he was in a treatment center, and this guy who I think was the owner or whatever, every day he walked by him, he said he was stopped and said, "Hey, remember, your best thinking got you here."
Right.
And I just remember that phrase, and my initial thoughts were like, those are fighting words, man. Like, what? What do you mean my best? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, like, yeah. Like that, I think that's, so if you find yourself in a situation where you're having a difficult time persevering, you're having a difficult time waking up tomorrow, you're having a difficult time looking around and saying, do I want to keep doing this? My answer to that is no. You don't
Right.
want to keep doing that. nobody wants to live through that kind of perspective. I can't imagine waking up every day at this point in my life thinking, oh God, here's another day. Like that perspective, I think, is what kind of helps perseverance.
Yeah.
Is changing that perspective. And so you said for yourself, sobriety was a major part of that, right? Which obviously
it enabled me to at least have a shot at it.
Right.
For sure.
I think that, you know what? I love the way you said that,
Yeah.
because sobriety doesn't guarantee you anything.
No.
And I think that's the best thing I could have heard anybody say,
Yeah.
is it gives you the best shot you could have at it.
Right.
Though.
Well, what it did was a couple things. So number one, I worked at the steps. I worked a 12-step program, which got a lot of the junk out of the way so I could get connected to a power greater than myself and learn that, it enabled me to have relationships with other people. And when I could start having relationships with other people, then I could be taught, then I could learn, and then I could debunk that fact that everybody was against me.
Right.
And that became, not true anymore. And I love what you said a minute ago, because if I allow what is in between my ears right here to determine my outcomes, I'm in big trouble.
Absolutely.
And I have to, I was sitting here thinking about it, and, it's that right action. At some point I have to, okay, do you want to get in shape? Well, pick up a weight or walk or do whatever, and your brain is going to fight you the whole time.
Absolutely.
My mind has fought me the whole time. I went from a high school dropout to an executive of a company, and that sounds cool, but I would show up the whole time feeling like I was a fraud and a phony, and that they were going to find me out, and that the imposter police were going to show up and say, hey, man, actually, we think you don't know what you're doing. But you have to go against that and just take the actions.
Yeah, man. I think that's a very underappreciated part of the Eightfold Path, to be honest with you. And I'm guilty of it myself. Even when I teach groups, sometimes I'll gloss over the conduct aspect. I spend a lot of time on the right speech, but I think I kind of glaze over the right action because it sounds so self-explanatory. However, I do believe that it doesn't get enough weight sometimes. Sometimes it's just that simple doing that kind of starts to the fake it till you make it thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that I think people underestimate what just putting forth the effort really does give back.
Well, what I learned in meditation was that my brain lies to me constantly.
Feelings aren't facts.
Right. So, you're not good enough is not true. You can't do this is not true. I've learned that over time, you can push your body to do just about anything if that's what you want to do. You don't have to do that. And you can learn just about anything. So, for instance, I put on a tie this morning. Do you know how old I was when I learned how to tie a tie?
I have no clue.
30.
I was about to say 30.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was
Didn't
30.
give me the second enough to put up the pot.
I was 30 years old. At that time, I'd had a bunch of ties tied, and I had my girlfriends tie
Just leave them there?
And I would leave them in my closet because I was embarrassed to say that, hey, I never had anybody taught me to do that.
At least you didn't do the clip-on route, though.
I would have.
At least you knew
I'm
better,
not
though.
above it. Yeah.
There you go.
I would have done that too.
Totally.
See, I just do my best to set my life up where I don't have to wear ties.
Right.
That's the approach I took.
Yeah.
You set your life up so you don't even have to wear pants.
He's not wearing pants right now.
No, he doesn't. He's not wearing pants right now, but people never know.
I think I think by pants he's referring to long pants. Let's go ahead and put that one out there. No, anybody who sees me, I'm always usually in sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt.
Love it.
First, I live in Florida, so
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we live in Florida, and if you can get past the tattoos, I think you can get past a pair of shorts. That's usually my philosophy. So, I do see that we have Mr. Wuji stepped in here. So, I'd like to wrap up my time with you. And I'm going to give you an opportunity now. If you had to whittle it down for my listeners to, let's just say three main things that kind of help them persevere, 3 ideas, 3 actions, whatever it is that you can think of, just 3 tips that if somebody had to walk away right now and they're having a hard time, they're sitting at home, they're listening to this, they're realizing that they've been that person. They've been sitting around blaming life, blaming everybody around them, having a hard time waking up every day. What would you say to that person right now?
I would say that you are absolutely not your past. You're not your mistakes. You're not any of that stuff. You are right here, right now, and none of that defines you. And then I would also say that no matter who you are, where you are, somebody loves you. And the other thing that I would say is that You are the only thing that's in your way. Is you.
Very good, man.
Yeah.
And just so you guys do know, as we're getting ready to make this transition, this is all on the spot. So kudos to you, man. Kudos to you.
Absolutely.
He just showed up to kind of just say hi, and we decided to just put him on air because that's what we do here. So fantastic, man. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
I can't wait to continue to build a relationship with you, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Well,
for
thank you,
coming by,
Brian.
man.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jamie, and I hope you don't leave the premises. Just
I will not.
All right. Perfect. All right.
Right
so
on.
we can talk after.
So as we say goodbye to Jamie here and welcome Mr. Jesse Wuji as they get them all set up, let me do some introductions for Jesse. Actually, you know what? I did not mention the Couch Live over the weekend, so let me go ahead and put that out there. So for those of you who know that obviously at WPSN we have multiple shows. Matter of fact, right after this show, we do have Recovery Radio coming up with Steve Moderano. Fantastic show. He's a top-notch interviewer. I definitely say stay tuned for that one. We have the Lemon Squeeze show coming up this week. This is their Valentine's show, and I was here for the recording of the Valentine's show earlier. And let me tell you, those ladies are awesome. And gentlemen, they're giving you some good tips on what to get your ladies for Valentine's. So definitely tune into that one. And then, of course, I started out on radio years ago with the Couch Live with Mr. Dope Dr. Louis Delgado. We're on Fridays live from 12 to 1. But we took our show on the road over the weekend. We did the Couch Live on tour. And we decided we went down to Elon Recovery and Wellness. It was our grand opening. They wanted us to come down and kind of vet them, check them out. And I got to say, it was a fantastic time. I think right now the show is airing on WPSN on our normal time slot throughout the week. So feel free to catch that up. We're also going to have some video put up soon, hopefully, to show some of our interviews and a lot of people we met. Pretty cool facility, top-notch, luxury, everything. A lot of really good people behind it, supporting it, and I really hope that they do well. Also, I'm going to be with the Lemon Squeeze show. The ladies I was just mentioning, they've got an event coming up. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live and then YouTube later on, I will put this in front of the camera for you. It is the Black AIDS event. It's coming up on February 17th. That's this Saturday. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be at Holden Heights Community Center at 1201 20th Street in Orlando, Florida. Great message there. Our very own Constance B on Lemon Squeeze show. She's going to be the keynote speaker there. Her father was diagnosed with AIDS, and so she's going to get up and share her story and how it impacted her and the things that she saw, the things that she went through. And then, of course, they're going to do their show live from Black AIDS Day there. So very cool event. I'll be there. Louis will be there, kind of hanging out, doing our thing, producing the show. Of course, they're going to be there doing their show live. So feel free to come by and say hi if you're going to be out there. Anyway, so the gentleman we're getting ready to welcome is Jesse Wuji. Very interesting fellow. I got to be honest. I didn't know much about him prior to the last week or so. And since then, the more I learn, the more I love about him. Except for, and I'm going to go ahead and get this out the way right now. There's only one thing I don't like. And I'm going to go ahead and give it to him.
Oh, you might as well give it to him now while he's eating.
Exactly.
Finishing that last
why
bite.
he can't defend himself.
Just so you know, Jesse, there are cameras, okay? Just so you know.
So for those of you who know me personally, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. Mm-hmm. And our record against Navy was like 43-0. Like we would stomp them until 2007. This gentleman here was at Navy from 2007 to, what was it,
2006 to 2010.
2006 to 2010. Mm-hmm. They snapped our streak of wins in 2007, and they did it again in 2009 and 2010, actually. And I believe you were there for two of them. The first one was a triple overtime game where you broke our hearts. So I'm not.
You just started with this whole thing.
Absolutely.
This is the way you. This is your first impression with
yes,
them.
Sir.
This is what I did to Daryl Strawberry for hitting home runs against
the way
Phillies.
I look at it is, as a fan, I don't always get the opportunity to confront the people who wiped the floor with us and broke our hearts. So, yes, I'm not very happy with you. There's lots of stuff I would love to say, but I will not. Anyways, I had to get that out there. But nothing but respect, brother. Nothing but respect. But anyways, so for those of you who don't know, man, you got quite the story. I'm gonna do my best to put as much out there as I can, then feel free to fill in the gaps. So, from what I read, parents immigrated from Nigeria in the 80s, came here. You have 3 other siblings, so a total of 4.
Total 4.
Total 4. You guys all kind of went to college. I think that you all played sports too, correct?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, and then you decided at some point to go to Navy, and graduated from there, and played football while you were at Navy.
Yep.
Became enlisted.
An officer.
Officer? Oh, excuse me. Hey, I would too, brother. Get that out there. So, was an officer. Deployment as well. Multiple deployments,
Two,
right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay. Got out of the Navy, or you're in reserves now, I think, right?
Yep, uh-huh.
And then just decided one day, I'm going to go race cars now.
Well, the racing actually began while active duty.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know how much of that you caught. I didn't see when you came in. Today's show is about perseverance.
Yeah.
And the funny part was I came up with this topic. I realized that, as I said earlier in the show, there's so many things going on at the moment right now. There's so many people dealing with so many things. And it's very easy for them to get so wrapped up in that they can feel kind of overwhelmed and they can't go on, right? And that's when Louis kind of reached out to me. And I believe I'm going to be at your, there's an event happening later on this week on Thursday.
Thursday, yep.
And so he called me up and he was like, hey, what if we can get Jesse on the show? And I was like, awesome. That'd be fantastic. I didn't think it was going to happen. And then we confirmed. I was like, oh, heck yeah. It couldn't have worked out any better, basically. Because be it your own personal story, the stories that you've witnessed through either your parents or your philanthropic work that you've done, and including the help with veterans and things of that nature, which I'm going to give you plenty of opportunities to talk about. You've seen tons of perseverance. And so I definitely would like to talk about that. So the first one, let's talk about your parents.
Yeah.
So they migrated from Nigeria. Can we say why? Like what brought that about?
Yeah. So my parents, back in the 80s, early 80s, my dad decided that, he was maybe 22, 23 years old. And he decided, you know what, if I want to advance my life, the place where I'm going to be able to do that is the United States. There's a lot of opportunity here. You can go to school, make something of yourself, and become someone. So he left his family and, they were like, go do it. And his dad, my granddad, told him, it was like, you're going to leave, you're going to go over there and do not come back unless you're successful. It's like, do not. It's just an embarrassment. It's like, if you go to America and don't make something of yourself, it's an embarrassment.
Wow.
And my dad was like, Roger that. Yes, sir.
That is an amazing story right there.
But that's what you have to do. And that's just my family in general. We push ourselves. We try not to, just lay over and just let things happen.
Right.
Like if there's a place and there's opportunity, we got to go make the most of it. So he came over to the U.S. in the early 80s. He got his education. He got his college degree, went back, married my mom, brought her back over. And then I was born like a year after that in 87. Then two of my brothers and my sister were born just, a few years after that. And, we grew up in Dallas, Texas. And with being in Texas, football's like the thing. Like
of course,
that's a hotbed.
the only thing.
Exactly, football. So
sure.
What we did was, we played football through middle school, high school. I got recruited to play in college after I was just a lot of grind, a lot of perseverance. In high school when I was starting to play football, I wasn't good at first. 9th grade,
right.
I remember some of my friends telling me I sucked. It was like, you're horrible. You'll never go anywhere with football. And I was like, no, like I want to go play college football. That's what I'm going to do. I know I can't catch a football and I'm a wide receiver, but I'm going to learn how to catch a football.
Let's talk about that for a second then. So, your dad comes over here. Tremendous amount of pressure put on his shoulders. Basically, make something yourself and don't come back. Right.
Barely knowing anyone here.
Wow. So he obviously persevered, and then you're born, and then you look around. And what kind of did he give you? Kind of that same talk? Did he say, hey, we're in America, you better be something? Or
it pretty much like all through my life, all through, elementary school, middle school, high school, you name it. I mean, every year, every year, every month, every week, always giving us a talk of we are here and it's like, you will be something. You're not going to not be something. You're not going to just lay over and chill. Like you're going to be something. And I mean, it a lot of times it was very specific. It was like, you're going to be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. That's it. Like, I'm like, okay.
So how did you deal with that pressure? Like, I can't imagine, you got to have some weight on your shoulders, right?
It's a little bit of weight, but it wasn't any pressure because it was just expected. Like,
right.
That was it. There was no alternatives. It's only pressure if there's alternatives. There was no alternatives.
I love that.
So
I love that.
Like nothing else in my mind. Like I was like, I'm gonna be something big. Like that's it. There was no alternative. So that's what we had to do. And and it's funny because I would tell my other friends like, yeah, like if I don't have straight A's, then my dad like will kill me.
Right.
And people are like, wait, what? So you can't even have a B? I'm like, no, he'll get really mad about that. And like first time I had a B like on a report card, oh my god. And then the first time I had a C, Jesus, like the first time I had a C on a report card, he pulled me out of football. I missed half of my
Wow.
8th grade year of football because
Holy
I had a
cow.
C on a report card.
Wow.
I wasn't failing, but I just had a C.
All right. So
Yeah.
so then you hit high school,
Mm-hmm.
and you decide you want to go. You want to start getting into football.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So talk to us about that a little bit. You said you weren't good.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all. I had some speed because I was Nigerian, obviously, but but that's about it. I had never played Pee Wee football, so
Okay.
I didn't learn how to play football.
Yeah,
I,
a huge learning curve. And Nigeria is not known for its football players.
Yeah, they just got a lot of athletic talent, but the talent hasn't been like cultivated, hasn't
Sure.
been like toned, I guess.
Right. And so how did you just not quit? I mean, here's your dad pushing academics.
Yeah,
You've obviously been focused
Very
on
hard.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And so how then did you deal with kind of overcoming the fact that you didn't feel that you were up to par
Yeah.
football, balance all that while still trying to get good at football?
My mom told me one day, after I was on the B team in 7th grade and the B team in 8th grade, my mom told me going in 9th grade, she's like, if you don't make the A team, you probably quit and focus on school.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I want to be a college football player, so screw that. So I'm going to make the A team.
Nice.
So I did whatever I needed to, and I just outworked everyone. I wasn't better than them. I just outworked them. And that's what got me onto the A team. Effort got me on the A team.
Right on.
Once I got me on the A team, I still wasn't good, but I just kept on working my butt off. During 9th grade off season, what I did was every single night I would get a football and throw it up with one hand and catch it with one hand, and then throw it up with the other hand and catch it with the other hand. I did 100 push-ups every night, 100 calf raisers, 100 sit-ups, and I did that every single night as a 14-year-old.
Wow.
How many 14-year-olds are out there doing that?
No.
Every single. I mean,
Can you come talk to my 13-year-old?
But I came up with that myself. Like, no one told me to do that. There was no book I read to do that. There was nothing. No one told me to do that. It's just in me. I was like, I have to do something
Right.
to get where I need to go, and this is what I need to do, and hopefully it makes me better. And I did that every single night. My hands got a lot better. I became able to catch a football a lot better. And the next year, I was starting on the JV team in 10th grade. And then in 11th grade, I was on the varsity team. And then 12th grade, I was on varsity again, starting. And then, I surpassed all the people who weren't doing that kind of work, who
Right.
were more talented than me. Talent only gets you in the door, but it does
Absolutely.
not keep you in the room.
Well, it gets them looking at you, but it doesn't get you the actual opportunity.
Exactly. So, doing that helped a lot, and it allowed me to basically get recruited to, for the next level.
Well, and that is probably, I think myself and Louis were talking about that earlier. So getting to that next level, right? So here you have this life, you persevering, like the definition of persevering.
Mm-hmm.
Why Navy? Like, did you always know that you wanted to go into the Navy, or how did that come about? That's a very
So-
interesting selection.
My junior year, one of the Navy coaches came down to our high school and recruited one of the players. So I guess every year they were coming down to recruit people. And then so the next year, which was my senior year, they came down and they're looking for, okay, who here is good, has talent, but might not be getting looked at by some of the bigger schools.
Right.
So who's kind of that middle grade kind of person that we could probably snatch up? And I was one of them. I had the good grades. I had good characters, good character. Good morals and all that stuff, and everything that fit for the Naval Academy. And I was just the right person and everything for them. So they started recruiting me really late my junior year, spring football junior season, and then really into my senior season for football. But looking at them, I was like, you know what? Well, I'm going to go to a great school that has a great football team, great education, and I'll have a career right after I graduate. I was like, that's perfect.
And you were never, prior to that, have you ever considered military service at all? Or
Never thought
just-
about it, but I was willing to
Interesting.
do it. I was like, it helped me, achieve one of my dreams, which was play college football. So why
Right.
not? I was like,
And you beat the fight in Irish there, but whatever. No, I kid, man. I have, as a Notre Dame fan, of course, that's a huge rivalry with us.
yeah,
And for whatever reason, no matter where you guys are ranked every year, you play us like ridiculously tough.
yeah.
And that's something I've always respected.
Oh yeah,
Is the thing I've always liked about Navy was, you don't hear about them being knuckleheads. They're
No.
not getting arrested.
no,
They all know that there's a very real possibility that they could be going to war at some point. They're not. There's not a huge amount of them playing in the NFL, so they're not doing it for the millions of dollars. Like they're doing it for the love of the sport, but then at the same token, they've got plans afterwards.
exactly.
And I've always respected that about them.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why they've always been proud to play one another. I think that's a approach they've taken. So talking about perseverance, I mean, I played high school football myself, and so I know coaches can be overbearing at times.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine the kind of pressure and the kind of the day-to-day grind that happens while you're trying to prepare not only for college football, but then prepare for the grind that the military is pushing into you.
Oh yeah.
So there had to have been a couple of days where you're like, did I make the right decision here?
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so at the Naval Academy, it was tough. I mean, I actually wanted to quit my sophomore year. I wanted to quit almost every year. But yeah.
I like that. It's honest.
Yeah,
though.
no,
I mean,
it is.
And that's
was
what we're
tough.
talking about,
Like,
is persevering through that.
I remember reaching out to one of my friends halfway through my sophomore year, and I was like, hey, he's at SMU, and I'm like, and SMU is close to home in Dallas.
Sure.
I'm like, if y'all have any open spots and your coaches are still looking for more players, I was like, I would be glad to transfer and go over there. And I remember he was like, yeah, I'll look into it for you. And he like never did. I'm happy he never did, because who knows where my life would be right now.
Thanks for letting me down, guy. Thanks.
But there was a lot. It was tough. It wasn't easy at all. I mean, you had the football, which was a grind. You had just school. I mean, we took anywhere from 18 to 22 credit hours every semester.
Wow.
Every semester, and usually 2 to 3 of them weren't counted as credit hours, but we still had to do the class.
And even that is expected, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not even an option.
Yeah, no,
because they don't value football the way some of the other schools might, right?
Yeah. So you have to do it. It's not like some of the other schools, people get whatever major and their classes are super easy and they don't worry about school or whatever. For us, I mean, whether you're a football player or not, it doesn't matter. You still have everyone at the school still has to take Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3, Chemistry 1, Chemistry 2, Physics 1, Physics 2.
It's going right in one year, not the other. Man, you lost me back at Calculus 1.
Thermodynamics, Electrical Engineering 1, Electrical Engineering 2.
Jesus.
These are all classes you have to take,
Wow.
no matter what. Whether you history major, English major, chemistry major, it doesn't matter. Everyone has to take those classes. So imagine being a football player. You came to play football, and now you're dealing with all these different theories and stuff of Calculus 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
And well, even with the football, like him and I were talking earlier, and you kind of mentioned it on here as well, and that is the perseverance it takes to get through the Naval Academy in and of itself. I mean, there's got to be a lot of drop. I don't know what the statistics are, but there's got to be a lot of people that just can't make that.
Yeah.
But then on top of all that, with the football aspect, even in and of itself, it's hard to play Division I. It's very difficult to just make it to that level. But then, like on a personal level, it's got to be frustrating at times too to not be at one of those big schools that has like the cupcake games.
Yeah.
Every game for you is going to be
Yeah.
hard, and
Yeah.
every game you're going to have to push out there and do that.
Yeah.
How? I guess that's what I'll ask it this way then. How the hell did you guys play us so tough every year?
Every year.
Like, what was that mindset? How did you wake up and realize you're going against a Division I school that is in talks for championship? A lot of them are probably bigger, stronger, faster. How did you wake up every day and be like, all right, let's go out there and do our best?
Because our
and
coaches,
punch us in the mouth, by the way.
Our coaches, they ingrain something in our mind every single day, whether it's off season or regular season. Their thing was no excuses, nobody cares. As in, like, they told us every single day, they're like, we know you're smaller than whoever, you're not as fast as whoever, but guess what? Nobody cares.
You're right.
So go play. And we're like, okay, cool, that's true. No one's going to feel sorry for us.
Right.
No one feels sorry for us. It doesn't matter. You're going to play a football game. At the end of the day, someone has to win, someone has to lose. So there's no excuses. They can't be like, oh, well, you're just smaller or whatever. No, nobody cares. So go out and play. Go grind and maximum effort. That's the thing. We're all about giving 100% effort. 100% effort can beat talent a lot of times.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't have 5-star recruits. We don't even have 4-star recruits. Most of our recruits are 3-star, 2-star.
I think I hear why though. That work schedule, that school
Yeah,
schedule,
yeah.
that would turn a lot of
Absolutely.
players off.
Yeah.
Well, and then the idea that you can go to war afterwards kind of turns some people away from it.
Because a lot of people coming out of high school, everybody wants to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, they see Naval Academy, Air Force, Army, and they're like, oh, well, it's a lot tougher to get to the NFL from there. Well, yeah, it is a lot tougher. But, we don't care. We're there to play football and go to school, get our education, and then go be an officer afterwards. And if football is an opportunity for us after college, we'll work it out from there. But none of us go in there really expecting that this is guaranteed. Like we are going to the NFL after this. None of us look at it like that.
Right.
Can I interject? What's the mandatory duty after Naval Academy?
For most services, it's or for most communities, it is 5 years. If you're a pilot, I believe it's like 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks.
And your coaches were right, though. now that I think about it. I mean, I've always respected the Naval Academy, what they do. I always tuned in, of course, to watch. But yeah, as much as I respected them, I didn't care.
Yeah,
They were. I really didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm just being honest. Like your coaches realized it. Like nobody cares.
No one cares. You gotta go out and play. Like you're out there. If you're gonna put a football helmet on or pads on and say that you're a college football player, then you're a college football player. We're all one thing. Whether the team's better than us or not, and we gotta go play, and we're gonna play like we belong. And when you do, good things happen.
God, you are a remarkable young man, dude. That is awesome.
That's right.
So the next one I have even written here was okay. So you persevered through coming from the immigrant family to kind of being successful, hitting high school, realizing that you might not have the talent that you wanted to have, overworked that and overcame that. Decided to go to a school that you had to copious amounts of stress and overcame that. And then the real fun starts, right? That's when you get out and you go and you get deployed. So talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So luckily going through the Naval Academy and being there for a long time really, I think, helps you a lot for the military.
I can imagine.
It doesn't fully prepare you. I mean, when you get to the ships, there's not a lot of like, okay, now that you're on a ship, you're going to now go through a 5, 6, or 6 month class of teaching you how to be on a ship and how this is that. No, you get thrown right into the fire.
Well, I saw an interview, I think, with you. And you talked about how difficult it was to be gone at like 6 months at a time, and be away from friends, family, things of that nature. What was your mindset? How did you get through those days? Because I got to imagine when you wake up and you go through this long day and you realize that you're missing your family, you're missing somebody. Maybe you don't have the opportunity to talk to them, but then you got another 5 months of this. Yeah. And how do you wake up every day and put forth that effort and be okay with it, not lose your mind?
You get used to it. It is tough, but you just become numb. When you try to all those feelings and emotions that most normal people have, you just close them up, you put them away. And you got to be numb. You just got to be ready to know that I'll see you when I see you, and when I'm not seeing you, like I'll still think about you, but I'm not going to stress myself over it, because if we do, none of us will make it. We'll be going crazy all the time, and it won't be fun. So my first deployment. When we went to Bahrain, and I was in Bahrain for 10 months. I remember stepping off the plane there, and it just looked way different. I mean, the sky was like a little bit more red, and there was like sand in the air, and I was like,
"You're not in Kansas anymore."
Yeah, and I thought, and I literally, this was my thought. I was like, we're here. Like I'm in the Middle East. Like I'm not going home tomorrow. I'm not going home next week. I'm not going home next month. I'm not going home 3 months from now. Right. I'm not going home 6 months from now. Like, I'm not going home 7, 8, or 9. Oh, gosh. I'm here, for a while.
So what I'm hearing, I guess, and from what I'm hearing, to relate it to the philosophical kind of approach I take on here, acceptance is what I'm hearing.
You have to
accept it for what it is, not what you want it to be. Exactly.
I'm like, this. Once life gives you the circumstances, you got to take it and run with it. There is not changing. Like, you can't change it all. The only thing that you have control of is your mind, your effort, and where you're going to take yourself from there. But once you get put in a situation, you're there. We just can't cry over it anymore. Right. It's it, and that was it. I was like, I'm here, and like, there's nothing I can do. I'm not going home tomorrow. Like, this is not just a quick vacation, and I'm going, like, I'm here. Like, this is my new home for a long time.
So you have your deployments. Mm-hmm. You put your time in for that, and now you decide you want to focus your efforts on NASCAR. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting jump. How did you arrive at NASCAR? Like, what got you there?
So from kind of the time I graduated from the academy through till 2015, I was doing some drag racing with a Dodge Challenger that I had.
Legal drag racing?
Legal drag, like at a drag strip, And then I would go to road courses with my Corvette and have a little fun there, like open track days. Right. Doing all that, I had a little bit of skill, and I was like, you know what? I want to take this to the next level, because I don't want to just sit here and settle at doing this amateur stuff like all the time. Like, if I'm gonna be spending money and knowing that for the rest of my life I'm gonna spend money on cars and racing, why not take it to the highest level possible? Wow. So I was
spoken like a true Navy man.
So I was like, how do I do this? I was like, become a professional race car driver. And I was sitting in my room in Southern California, and I was like, in San Diego, and I stood up and I had a whiteboard, and I went to the whiteboard and I wrote, become professional race car driver. I wrote it down. Wow. And at that point, I didn't have a lot of money to do it, didn't know where to go, what to do, but I was like, if I at least start walking, then I can make it happen. So I was like, okay, what's the first step? Okay, try to find out what to do. I need racing licenses. I need
Right.
stuff like that. So I started trying to figure out how to do that and get that set up. I started reaching out to professional race car drivers and asking them, hey, how was your path? Well, like, what did you do to get there? I reached out to 100, probably got answers from maybe 3.
Right.
From there, I started learning a few things. And the big thing I learned was it's expensive. You need money. And you need to get as much seat time as possible. So I started, so then I was like, okay, seat time. What do I do for that? Well, go to some tracks and practice a little bit more. If I can, get a racing simulator, because then I could practice at home for free, basically. Also, the funding part of it, learning how to get sponsorships, how to market myself, all those different things. I began having to teach myself and then learn from others too, and learn from others' mistakes and see kind of what everyone's doing. There's just a lot of looking, watching, learning, and networking. That's what I did, and that's what really kind of started to get it going. And it's crazy, because once you make a decision in life to go somewhere and do something, and you put it out there in the universe, and now your soul energy and focus starts really beaming that way, it's crazy how doors start opening up.
Sure.
I mean, the moment I said I want to become a race car driver, 3 months later, I meet a guy who randomly comes out of a porta potty. I talked to him earlier about like my drag racing and stuff, but
Where's this story going,
well,
brother?
it's crazy. So I met him at a car show. It was a car show,
Right.
and I was like, hey, yeah, I drag race, and I got my Corvette. I go to road course tracks, whatever. I was just telling him about that, and he's like, okay, cool. We split. I go to the porta potty to go use it. He went already before me, and he was in there. He walks out, and when he walks out, he sees me again, and his first words were, would you be interested in stock car racing?
Wow.
And then I was like, NASCAR. I was like, I never thought about it, but I told myself I want to be a pro driver. I never told myself where exactly. I just
Right.
want to be one. So, boom, this is my first route to start heading, maybe.
Wow.
And then I went out and did a test with his team in a late model race car or stock car, and at Irwindale Speedway. It went well, and I was like, you know what? I have a little bit of skill. When I come back from my second deployment, I'm going to start pursuing this. And that's what I did, and that's kind of what launched it.
Wow.
But it's because I kept putting it out in the world. I kept putting out my thoughts of like what I needed to do. One person picked up on it and decided, let me give this guy a quick tip, like, just
Very cool.
let me see if, where it's going to go. And because he did that, because he stepped out and asked me that question, I'm here now racing at Daytona this past weekend.
That's awesome.
Like,
There's so much more I want to get in with you, man. Like with the volunteerism and the philanthropic stuff. But however, I'm getting the signal from the producer. We got to start wrapping up. So I'm going to ask you to do the same thing I asked Jamie to do, and that is, there's somebody out there right now who's listening to this, who's going through life, feels like life is kind of holding them back and throwing too many obstacles in front of them. So if you can give me just 3 ideas, 3 tips that you would tell that person, and a lot of us are listening, but there's a camera right there. So look at that camera and tell them, what would you tell that person who's struggling right now?
So the big thing, there's a lot of big things, but first, make a decision that you want to go somewhere. And once you make that decision, keep walking. Do not walk backwards, just keep walking, and never quit. So some big things that have stuck with me over this whole time was one big lesson from Les Brown, and he said, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And what that means is everyone has their opinion. It could be your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, boyfriend, cousin, whatever. It doesn't matter. Never let that define you. Just because they have an opinion of you does not mean that you have to become that. Also, too, even when things get dark, even when things get really tough, just remember, in the darkest point of the night, the sun will rise. So right when you feel like quitting, right when it's like it's over, everything is done, before you turn away and walk the other way, stop and just take one more step in that same direction again. I promise you it'll be the successful step.
Right on, man. How do I follow that? Right? So
Well,
impermanence is what I heard there.
Yeah, there you go.
I have my own 3. I'm going to wrap them up quickly because I know we're running out of time. Thank you for that, by the way.
Most definitely.
So for me, the 3 I have is very similar to what you've already been hearing. There's a common trend going on. But what I have is number 1, you got to remain humble and teachable. The second you start to think that you're better than, life is going to show you that you're not. The second you think you know everything, life is going to show you that you don't. The second one I have is stop trying to make everything fit into what you think it should be. Kind of, like Bruce Lee said, be water. Kind of go with the flow. If an opportunity rises, like he said, you see an opportunity, you want to be a professional driver, don't limit it to this. The universe said, hey, what about NASCAR? He took it. And then finally, the last one is you got to find an outlet. You got to find something, as Louis always likes to say, release that pressure. You got to find something that can kind of take your mind off of all the pressure that you're having. and escape that for a minute to find some sort of enjoyment, whether it be football, whether it be racing, whether it be drawing, art, whatever it may be, something that you can kind of dedicate some time to that reminds you that life isn't just all struggle. There is some good stuff in there. So until next time, you know better, be better.
Do you think he plans it all out? Or just makes it up as he goes along?